area. And, Jim, you've got a special guest this morning in the studio.
Well, we've got a guest. It's believe it or not, we have an election for almost every single city in the state of Michigan, plus a few other things happening in about a month. Right. And, of course, we have a bigger election coming in 2022. But I thought it would be good for us to get a sense of what you might ask your municipal leaders, some questions of why should I vote for you. Time and again, it's been very frustrating for me when people have come to me and said, hey, I'd like you to support me. And I'll ask them, I said, well, why should I vote for you? And you get a, like, good Lord, who would ask that awful question? Jeff Martin is the Dalton Township, the relatively newly elected Dalton Township supervisor. And Jeff is an interesting guy in a lot of ways, but one of the more interesting ways is that he's a Republican in what not only was considered a Democrat area, but an area that only a fool Republican would even bother wasting his or her time running for a position in Dalton Township because it was so Democrat. And the person that he ran against, actually, was a well-known Democrat operative, if you will, who was married to an attorney who at the time was the chairman of the Muskegon County Democrat Party.
Really? Okay.
So only a fool would have begun to consider this kind of run. And in talking with Jeff, I've asked him, I said, Jeff, when you ran, why did you run and what do you think made sense for you to get elected? Again, this isn't so much for people considering running for office, but if you are a citizen, most of us want to have some answers to, well, we've got some issues here. Right. Maybe it's a tiny little issue that's annoying to you, or maybe it's a big issue. But what were the issues that you decided to focus on, and what were the answers that you came up with?
I appreciate it, Jim. I think a lot of times the problems are universal and the solutions will be specific to an area. And there's a lot to unpack in those questions. Specifically, what I encountered and what led me to doing an 18-month campaign against my township and then a 6-month campaign for office were certain injustices in the way things were playing out, largely with the zoning ordinances, which have an interesting history going back to the 1920s. And everyone has those issues to a certain extent.
Let me just jump here. You said zoning issues. Now, zoning affects, obviously, individuals with their homes, but for the most part, the people that are interested in zoning are people involved in some sort of business. Either they want to change, or perhaps the zoning people are coming down upon them and enforcing rules of some sort. Is that what was going on in Dalton?
There's some of both. So, because zoning does interest private individuals and residences quite a lot, and then farming operations, which is specifically what got me involved into it. And then there are issues with the businesses, and that was the major other thing, were these barriers that were erected to business, and they happened a lot of times for personal reasons. And so, removing those barriers, because entrepreneurs and people that run businesses and have employees, they are the engine that drives the economy. You need that initiative. Without it, nothing will function. And so the barriers that had been erected there a lot of times were over signs and things like that, relatively small, that wouldn't be that hard to correct, I think, if you had good intentions and went through the process.
Okay, so nitpicky things, and I know that any number of my friends, including some of the county commissioners, have chickens these days in their yards where they happen to live throughout the county. So when you decided to run, you heard people that were complaining that the zoning enforcement didn't seem to be fair, and so you made that an issue. When someone says, "I'm going to fix the zoning mess," what was it that you told people you were going to do, and what have you done in the interim? It's only been how long have you been supervisor?
Since last November.
So just since November. Okay.
Yeah, so a little less than a year.
What did you say you were going to do, and what's happened since?
A few different things. I said that I would make it known what was happening by recording and posting the meetings so everyone could see it, make them more accessible, which we've done that. That I would honor the Right to Farm Act, but that there's local preemption, so the state takes over some things that may be happening wrong on the municipal level in a lot of different places. And we're working on doing enumerated rights, specifically spelling out what people's rights are so that they can't be violated, and then changing the due process, how the process works at the local level, which is probably our greatest innovation right now.
Now, due process, you're suggesting, so if someone disagrees with the power structure, in this case it would be the supervisor and of the township, they have ways that they can work it out.
Yes, and
a
specific process that the township has to follow. So it's not so arbitrary. And a big part of why I got involved was that before, me as supervisor, I could just go after someone in a very aggressive and fast fashion, and then someone else I could do it slow and lackadaisical. And that, I mean, it's unfair, but it's also, you don't have a process that leads to consistent justice, which is the point of government.
There's not absolute time frames. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think this is important because, and this is perhaps the reason that you got elected, is Muskegon County is known as a county not to do business in, notwithstanding all the cheerleaders. The county puts together an annual financial report that enumerates any number of statistics, but one that caught my attention was, if you look at it every 10 years, going back 30 years, and it's probably similar going back beyond that, but if you look at the top 10 taxpayers in Muskegon County in 10-year moves, typically the top 5 are gone in a 10-year time frame.
Right.
If you look at the top 5 employers in Muskegon County, typically the next 10 years, 5 of that top 10 are gone. So Muskegon County has a reputation, certainly when compared to Kent County and Ottawa County, who are just booming, of being a place where it's very hard to do business, perhaps because of what you just suggested, that you've got rules and laws that are not delivered in an understandable way. So we've got a break coming up.
We got a break coming up. Would you consider that crony capitalism?
No, I would consider government that doesn't really give a hoot about bringing business in.
I wouldn't mind using that term.
Okay, all righty. Let's take our last break of the week, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to News Talk 1090, WKBZ.
Hi, this is Brian Kilmeade, inviting you to listen to Kilmeade and Friends. I break down the biggest stories of the day in the news and tell you what I think. Plus, you get insight and perspective from my Fox friends like Steve Ducey, Brett Baer, Chris Wallace, Governor Mike Huckabee, Bill Hemmer, Martha McCallum, and people like Geraldo Rivera, only on Kilmeade and Friends.
It's the Brian Kilmeade Show, weekday mornings at 9, right after Talking to Muskegon on News Talk 1090 WKBZ, the Talk of Muskegon.
The Michigan Chamber of Commerce.
We represent the bakers, auto repair shops, manufacturers, small business owners. Our job is to help businesses succeed by giving them a voice against restrictive regulations and overreaching government. Our commitment is to create and promote good public policy that will restore a strong, healthy economy. Our focus is being your champion for free enterprise. We are the Michigan Chamber, and we stand ready to fight for Michigan.
To learn more about the Michigan Chamber and how to become a member, visit michamber.com.
As they age, it's important for your parents to maintain their independence. But they can't do it all like they once used to. And in this digital world, it's easy to forget things like paying an important bill. That's where Silver Bills can help. Just dial 1-855-589-5265 to learn more about our unique service that will work with you and take over the tedious task of paying your parents' bills. Silver Bills provides a dedicated U.S.-based professional account manager who will receive, scrutinize, store, and make sure bills are paid on time and correctly. You'll always reach a live person, so there's no need to have a computer background or be tech savvy. We're fully insured, recommended by AARP, and have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. So you'll have more time for quality visits and less time for stress and worry. Peace of mind is just a phone call away. Call Silver Bills now at 1-855-589-5265 to receive 1 month of service free. That's 1-855-589-5265. Silver Bills, because time together is better than worry apart. 1-855-589-5265.
Radio advertising can connect your business with holiday shoppers wherever they go. Use iHeart Ad Builder to create an affordable custom radio ad right on your phone. Just click, listen, approve, then hear it on the radio. Create your customized ad today at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
Get the best prices on all fall and winter apparel for the entire family at Factory Surplus Sales. Hunters, get to Factory Surplus Sales for the best selection and lowest prices on Scentlock, Walls, Muck, Lacrosse, and more.
Factory Surplus Sales.
Take US 31 to the Fruitvale exit in Montague.
Folks, our friends at iDrive have launched iDrive Photos, an unlimited cloud backup mobile app for iOS and Android. Keep all of your life memories secure and protected. And get this, iDrive Photos does backups faster than Google Photos for most devices and at most locations. Not only is iDrive Photos fast, it backs up photos and videos in original resolution. Industry-leading tech publication Laptop Magazine says iDrive Photos is easily the most affordable unlimited option we've seen. Accidents can happen, especially with mobile devices. They can be easily stolen, dropped, or get damaged by water, which can put your photos and videos at risk. So it's important to back up and keep all of your photos and videos safe. The best part? It's only 99 cents the first year when you buy it right from the iDrive website. Back up your mobile phone today for a limited time only for 99 cents the first year. Go to iDrive.com/photos and sign up today to get unlimited photo and video backup.
Good Risings. The Good Risings podcast is a collection of 6 mini shows curated to give you a daily shot of inspiration, motivation, humor, relationship advice, and even astrology. You can choose to listen to one or all of the daily Good Risings offerings available on our feed. It's the perfect daily practice for anyone looking to lead a more intentional, mindful, and inspired life. Listen to the Good Risings podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Now, back to Talkin' Muskegon on News Talk 1090 WKBZ, the talk of Muskegon.
And it's currently 52 minutes past the hour, 51 degrees outside, and we've got Jeff Martin in the studio with us, who's the township supervisor in Dalton Township.
Just before the break, you mentioned something that just zoomed right over my head, John, and that was the concept of crony capitalism. The reason I wanted to have you on the show is to address some of the issues that you've had, but you are an example to me of the kind of politician who we should all be looking for, but whether they be Republican or Democrat. Someone who says, I've delineated some specific issues that I think are important, and these are my plans to fix them. So when you are looking at Norton Shores or City of Muskegon or any of the other municipalities, and a politician comes to you, or you have an opportunity to ask them a question, ask them, what are the issues and how are you going to fix them? Now, this crony capitalism thing is kind of interesting, and since I missed the entire thing, can you mention what you were referring to?
Yeah, and actually I'll hit on one thing before that, because mentioning the parties, a lot of these I don't think are really party issues. Mm-hmm. And there's a phrase from Frederick Douglass that I really like, in that I'm independent within the Republican Party, and it allows you to tackle the issues that actually matter and still be in a party, which is necessary in American politics. In crony capitalism, largely, we think about it on this large level of these big companies making campaign donations and putting money into the media and this type of thing to manipulate the markets. But really, it's a human thing, and I'd say it's fairly close to the definition of fascism. But at the local level, you still have those interest groups, and they try to benefit friends, they try to get advantages for them and hurt enemies.
So you might, and not suggesting in any way that this is what happened in your township, but a zoning board or a zoning commissioner might somehow be a little loose and enable their friends, and might be a little strict with folks for whatever reason that they don't find on their friend list.
I believe that's exactly what happened with the previous supervisor, which is why I spent 2 years.
Yeah, and you can use a very easy thing to, we'll table that.
Yeah,
we'll table that, and next month we'll table it again.
Which is dangerous.
Table it in perpetuity.
Do it every month.
Changing ordinances, and we've changed probably a couple of dozen ordinances since I've been in, so it's fairly aggressive, but I've been trying to be specific with them, because there's this balance you have to strike between stability and change.
Sure.
And you don't want to upset society by changing too much too quickly, which we've moved pretty quick on some big changes. And I know, Jim, you wanted to hit on Business Park North, which is a huge thing. And I think
explain what it is.
On Whitehall Road, there is a large area that it was a chemical site. So Story Cordova at one time. Sure. The county ended up acquiring the property, but it was contaminated, so it's being cleaned up originally by DEQ, now called Eagle. And there are restrictions on the property and what you can and can't do. There's a 500-page list of restrictions on what you can't do. So it's zoned light industrial. And this leads into, I think, part of why Muskegon has so many problems, other than the cronyism, in that there's this theory of how something can go, and then there's the reality, and They're not the same. And in this case, they wanted to do some sort of big project there, to have some sort of huge manufacturer. In 2002, a contract was signed between the county, the city of Muskegon, and Dalton Township for 50 years, so that things there would be taxed at the city levels, which include income taxes and the much higher mills that are taxed in a city. And then there were Renaissance Zone tax credits for a while, and then the county tried to sell it for quite a bit of money per acre. And so it sat there for 2 decades completely empty. No businesses in there at all. Not a single one.
This is on Whitehall Road, just north of River.
Yep.
Right, okay.
Yeah, right in there.
Right.
And in the county even put in 2008, I do believe they worked on some roads and stuff like that, but people would just dump trash in there. It wasn't happening. Nothing was happening. No one was interested in it. And so that was supposed to be in place until 2052. Now, I worked with the county and the city of Muskegon for over 6 months, probably close to 8 months. So just a couple of months after I got in office to break that contract 30 years early. And if I could have achieved this within my 4-year term, I thought that would have been amazing, and we've done it in less than one.
The breaking of the contract enabled what?
What it is, it kicked the taxes back to Dalton levels, which Dalton taxes are very small compared to a city.
Muskegon, sure.
And you don't have to pay income tax when you have employees there. So it makes it much more valuable for a business to move in. It's just one of those barriers that didn't need to exist.
That's a big deal.
It's huge.
Sure it is. Oh, yeah.
And it's going to increase the tax base for the county
Dalton
and the township. It's going to be, and then there's going to be business, and there's going to be more people to employ. It benefits everyone over the short term and the long term.
Housing spring up around there as well.
It makes the whole area more attractive because things are happening.
Absolutely.
And it's just been sitting empty for 20 years, and it would have just sat empty for another 30 years if we didn't do something.
Excellent. Good job.
Yeah.
There you
go.
Well,
I think that, again, like you said, if you had been able to accomplish this in the span of 4 years, that'd be one thing. Folks, we can fix this county. We have the most beautiful county. Our location is spectacular. We've elected people who've made decisions that have chased business, not to India, but they've chased it to Ottawa County. They've chased it to Kent County. We can control what goes on in the future, but you got to vote.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, so Kim Sear and Doug Brown are the 2 county commissioners, and they were great to work with.
Yeah, they're excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Jeff, we really appreciate you coming in. I mean, and we maybe need to get you back in here because, I mean, Dalton, if you think of Dalton, Twin Lake Park, I mean, you got Twin Lake Park, you got the trail that's running through there.
Yes.
You got, obviously, the eatery of the Full Moon. We used to call that Dalton Supper Club, by the way, when I was on the Reese Buffer School Board. But it now is a supper club. And Mike has done an excellent job in redoing that entire restaurant facility there. And some really good things happening in Dalton.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Jim, we got to have him back in. We got to come back in here maybe on a little regular basis, talk about what's going on up in Dalton.
Well, he knows what's going on, and we don't.
Yeah.
So it's helpful. Thank you.
Fresh air. Jeff, thanks for coming in this morning. Really appreciate that. And Jim and I will be back on Monday morning.